I was really reflective when I walked in here because it reminds me of I know I always talk about this. This is truly the journey right here. When I talk about the way what you're going to see as a result of everything that we're doing today, started off with us doing this. This is literally the foundation.
Yo, you're listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Camuno here, and we are back with episode 122 of the Money Monopolizers podcast. And I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing all right, bro. I highly recommend y'all watch the YouTube episode of this. This is hilarious for one. So I'm doing excellent. The crazy thing is that we are in if y'all go back to early episodes, you'll know where we at actually. We're in Alex's stomping grounds right now. So we're actually in your garage, huh?
In the garage.
Yes, sir. I'm dying laughing because, man, I love just always being able to find a way to get things done. So our normal studio said we weren't able to get that one today. So we decided that we're going to make it work. And here we are today and doing another episode. But I think it's going to be a great informative episode just because of that fact. Because we have a lot I have a lot that I want to share just based on just our experience just from today. So we're going to get into that throughout the episode. But I'm doing excellent, man. I'm just glad to be here and still doing this. How about you?
Oh yeah, this is it's gonna be we got a fantastic episode that really is just kind of a spur of the moment kind of episode, because not I would say spur of the moment, but it was inspired by a lot of today's, the events that have transpired over the last couple hours. So, I'm excited to get into that for sure because, I know oftentimes we do a lot of episodes, especially as of recent, that are geared towards more entrepreneurship and things like that, and I know that. And y'all gonna have to deal with that today. But I know that a lot of the things that we talk about might not be applicable to a lot of people directly. We still talk about a lot of like entry level entrepreneurship topics, but one thing I want to make sure that we're doing is also still talking about the early financial freedom action items that people need to be taken care of, right? And so today, that's definitely what we want to get into with the topic today. As we've been doing, we have our 300 review challenge that we gave y'all a couple weeks ago, and we started that challenge. We had 254 reviews, and now we're at 265 reviews, I think.
So shout out to my 1.5%. Anybody who watched
was that 1.5%?
I think it was like one. No, that wasn't a full 1.5%. The goal was to get 1.5% of our listeners to go leave a rating.
So how many was that technically?
Probably, so take 46 and 11 over 46, and so that's about a quarter of them. So 1.5 divided into 4, that's maybe 0.3.
Yeah, so y'all are doing pretty terrible.
So right now, no, shout out to those 11 though, because
shout
now
y'all
11. What is that, 46, and we got 35 more. So yeah, shout out to the 11 because y'all are in the top 0.5% of the world right now when it comes to rating the podcast. But like I said before, how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you are going to be willing to go the extra mile and just this one little thing, imagine what else you can do just taking that same mentality and applying it to other areas of your life.
Right. So for those that don't know, the goal is to get 300 reviews by our 3-year anniversary, which is going to be on in May 1st. And that's coming up now. We're now in February, so it's getting here. We got 3 months, but we can still get it. We need, 35?
Yep, 35 more are needed.
Come on, man, 35, and we got like 8 episodes until then. So, 12 episodes until then. So, man,
I got faith in y'all. We need 1.2% left.
Yeah, that's the goal. And again, we're doing this because it helps us in the algorithm with Apple charts, helping us rank in the podcast, helping more people find the podcast, and it also helps our egos. So be sure to definitely just leave those ratings, reviews. We appreciate it. I even appreciate the person that went and left a 1-star review. So,
man, I said somebody took the time to say, okay, well, y'all want to rate it, huh? Get y'all.
Now it's always, to me, it's I feel like you probably just a hater if you leave a 1-star review.
Facts.
But you know, everybody can have their opinions, even if it's wrong. I mean, I don't know. I guess, you know, we did something to make them mad. Maybe, I'm sure it was me. Because actually, speaking on that, someone had commented on one of our posts saying why I was always angry, or why he said why we put a teaser out. He was like, you make a good point, or good content, but why are you always so mad? And I was just, I don't know, man. I guess I'm just an angry person. But I don't, honestly, bro, to me, it's like, that's just my personality. Like,
I was going to say the same thing. I'm like, I didn't even think he was mad. I'm like, this is just normal conversation. So it's about, I guess, knowing some. Everybody says things differently. Like, you can look at. Matter of fact, we were talking about this in the morning meetup. David was talking about how you can see Jim Rohn give a sermon. Right. Then you can see Eric Thomas give a sermon. They can say the same stuff, but they're going to deliver it very differently. Nobody's mad. It's just they have a different delivery.
And that's all it is, bro. Like, that's my way of delivering information is very, I guess you can call it passionate in a way. The way I, you know, and it might come off as a certain way to some people, but it is what it is. The people that is for will get it, and the people that is not won't.
That's a fact.
So, but that's just a part of growth. You know, you can't ask for growth and then be mad when you get some pushback. So, I ain't mad at it. It is what it is. But please keep leaving those rating and reviews. Whoever left the 1-star will find you though.
Yes. Other housekeeping topics I wanted to mention about the Ask the Monopolizers. So at the end of every show, we do a segment called Ask the Monopolizers, especially on these solo episodes where it's just me and Alex. We do a segment where we answer listener questions. So if y'all go into Instagram and DM us with the hashtag Ask the Monopolizers, you can ask a question. We'll answer it on a podcast. Also, we have another segment called Ask the Alex, where we mention. So you get any new ones?
I've gotten some new inquiries. Were they inquiries I would want? No, they weren't. But got some new inquiries. So yeah,
that's an insider. Y'all might have referenced a previous episode. You know that one.
We got some. We always got some in the works though. Yeah. So what we want to do obviously is transition into our first segment of the show, which is going to be our business update. So let's get into that.
It's time. I guess I got my swagger back. Keep them posted.
So now we are opening up February. I'm not going to say it's the new year because we're no longer
facts
in the new year. I mean, we're in the new year, but it's February now. We in the thick of things now. So Q1, we pushing along. I know you had the goal in your, we mentioned a few episodes ago, you know, one of your goals was to do 5,000 in I guess, compensation to yourself in January. Right. Was that something that you've been able to do, or like how's that coming along for your January progression?
To recap on the actual goal, so the goal was to do 30,000 in revenue, which would be 3,000 for me, and within that first 4 weeks span of my 12 week.
Okay, I thought it was 5
year. The 5 is actually for the last 4 weeks of the 12-week year. So I split the 12-week year up into 3 segments, and I did it like 4 at a time. So like 4 weeks, first 4 weeks, second 4 weeks, third 4 weeks, and then have a progression throughout there. That's kind of how the goal is set up. I will actually point out that I did not, and we're going to talk about that probably on the second episode, much more in depth. But I was not able to hit that goal. We ended up getting 13,000, and that was our number right then. But I learned a lot along the way. And
wait, you got 13,000 what?
That was the gross revenue for that 4 weeks.
Oh, for the 4 week. Okay, yeah.
Correct. So that's where we were at for that first 4 weeks. Things along the way with that, like I said, we're going to talk about it later on. But one of them is that in the rental car business, it's a slow season.
Right.
That's a big factor. So with that in mind, you have to learn how to like pivot and come up with different strategies along the way in order to hit those numerical goals. And one thing that we've been working on a lot is the joint ventures. We continue to talk to new people and continue to try to bring in more vehicles. That's another way to bring in more income, is through having more vehicles.
Also, can you kind of talk real quick what you actually do again?
Yeah. So you can always recap that for sure. So I'm in the rental car business. So me and my dad have actually gone into business together. We rent out cars in Houston, and that's been our business model, like our thing, like platforms such as Turo, Hire Car. People know about those, but we're also building up an offline presence where we'll be able to rent out cars that way as well. Our main thing right now is that we're looking to get a lot of joint venture partners to continue to increase our income through having more vehicles in our fleet, but also being able to give other people a chance to get passive income by putting a car into our fleet. They don't have to necessarily know how to run the business. They can just add a car to our fleet, and we can continue to make money that way,
right?
For both of us. And so we have had 28 people that we've talked to as far as joint venture inquiries now.
Really?
And right now we're just really trying to close the deal on some of them. So that's really been like the biggest slowdown, kind of, is just trying to get those leads into actual clients and conversions. And that's been one thing that we've run up against. But like I said, I want to save a lot of that for the next episode
topic,
too. Next topic for sure. But that's a lot of it's going to be involved around that.
Got you.
So how everything look for you this first month of 2022?
Yeah, man. 2022 has definitely been a year where it's like all about focus so far, and that's really what January was about. And just in the sense of, I really got focused on like what I really need to do this year to really grow to my we really out here, bro. Like these,
y'all about to get this story today.
So yeah, bro. Like I'm telling you,
that's coming.
We really out here, so hold tight. But y'all gonna keep hearing these cars.
So
keep going.
Y'all hear babies crying, dogs barking, cars driving by. Just know y'all gonna learn it. Y'all can figure out why in a second.
But yeah, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, the 2022 it's all about focusing on growing the business. It's all about focusing on one thing, right? And really, or at least majority of my time is focused on one thing and growing that one thing. So for those that don't know, I have a cleaning business, and we're in all over Texas now, in 3 cities, and continue to expand. We do residential, and we do now we're getting into commercial cleaning. Last year we did $400,000 in revenue, and the goal for this year is to do $1 million in revenue by the end of the year. So January we ended up doing $55,000 in revenue. So honestly, to me, it was a disappointment. It was
because I know you want to have every month be better than the last month, right?
Yeah. So it was to me, it was a bad month, and I failed. And that's just the reality of it. Like, people would hear that and be like, I want to fail. If that's failure, I want to fail. But like, December I did $60,000. This month,
wait for next episode too. We're gonna talk about it.
Here's the thing, like in this specific industry, it's kind of something people start evaluating budgets, those kinds of things. Like, nah, you know what? I don't really need to get my house clean. You know what?
Facts.
I don't really need to do this. I'm trying to, new year, new me for the first 10 days. And then, they kind of shift their budgets around, all those kinds of things. So, we saw a decline in our recurring revenue on the residential side. But again, we did have the commercial contract to make up for that deficit. So, it's a $60,000 contract, $5,000 a month. And so that made up for a lot of the lost residential revenue. But again, it's not something where it's like something it's nothing that I'm worried about, because I know it's just a part of the cyclical nature of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not a 9 to 5. They're not paying you. You're not getting paid the same thing every month just because you showed up.
That's a fact.
Just because showing up is not. You don't get a cookie for that. Showing up is what you're supposed to do. Yes, it's what you do after you show up that you get cookies for. And so it was a bad month to me, but it wasn't bad. I mean, at the end of the day, it wasn't like a detrimental thing. Mm-hmm. You keep moving along. And I know February I'm coming for revenge.
Yes, sir.
Because I got to make up for what I was supposed to do in January.
Oh, I gotta talk about you now.
What?
January 2022, Alex, was worse than December 2021, Alex. How does it make you feel, sir?
It makes me feel terrible. I'm being honest, because it's just like, how you let this dude beat you, bro? How you let this dude's a whole month younger than you. You got a whole month more of experiences and knowledge.
Bro, that's terrible.
And bro, you let this dude beat you. Like, come on, man. You should be ashamed. You should close down the business and go back to work.
That's so if y'all know people like, let's say Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, that's the same exact mentality that Alex approaches everything with. I love that about him, because of the fact that you're always going to be striving to do better. And even though you can blame other things, so this is huge. This is a big point of it. Right. Everybody can blame a lot of outside factors for their situation and why they weren't able to duplicate their results or do better than their results previously. But are you going to make the excuse, or are you going to say, I'm going to double down and work harder to achieve my desired result, or am I going to be a prisoner of the moment in my situation? That is the key difference between most people in the mentality. That's why I like this mentality, because now you're saying, I don't like. Yes, sure. People are not booking because of this, that, and the other. They're trying to save money after spending money at Christmas. That doesn't matter. I still need to hit my bottom line. Yeah. And if I want to hit that bottom line, I got to do more. So obviously, people. I mean, I was able to generate this much income. Why can't I generate 5,000, 10,000 more? So I need to do a little bit more and to compensate myself for the slow season.
Right.
And I like I said, we're going to save that one. But I almost want to talk about everything in one episode now. I'm trying to contain myself, but that's it, man.
But like, it's to me, it's something where, again, I don't make excuses about like, oh, this was out of my control.
Facts.
No, it was some, if I really, 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 really pushed harder, I could have done it. I could have did it. I didn't push hard enough. Because I thought, it's just, let me keep kind of doing what I'm doing and, increase my ad spend a little bit, do this over here, start investing commercial, and boom, I'm gonna get it naturally. But it's like, no, there's other factors, external factors that come into play that now you have to account for. Now the seasonal aspect of business is something you have to account for. I didn't necessarily notice at this point last year in business because I was too small.
Right.
I didn't know, like, I was... It was my best month at that point.
Facts.
Even though it was like, last January business did 9,000 in revenue, 8,000 I think,
man,
in revenue. So it's like a 500% increase.
Yes, sir.
But that was a year ago. I don't care about that. So it's I'm focused on like what we can do now. So 2022 is no. And I know it's not realistic to expect every single month to do better than the last, but the way my mind's set up, that's the only way I can like stay competitive and just like compete with myself. I have to compete. I can't just like not compete, bro. Like I need, even if it's myself, I gotta compete. It's like in my DNA, bro.
So both of us do things that are quote unquote unrealistic as far as this ways that we set goals. One of your ways that you set them is to every month has to be better than the previous month.
Right.
Quote unquote, that's unrealistic. I don't care though. Ooh. I'm doing unrealistic stuff because that's going to make my results unrealistic for most other people.
It's a fact.
So because I'm always doing I'm always setting unrealistic expectations for myself, I'm gonna continue to get those abnormal results because I'm always challenging myself to push myself beyond what anybody else is willing to do. Yeah. Myself, I'm setting huge goals, like beyond where I'm currently capable of even achieving. My today's self cannot achieve the goals that I've set for myself.
Yeah.
And so I have to become a better person in order to achieve that. And if I don't, because I'm not that person yet, now my brain is working and trying to figure out how do I get there. And that's the key difference is that by setting those quote unquote unrealistic goals, you have to push yourself harder than what you currently are capable of doing.
Ooh, we talking hot. And that's the honest truth about it. Like anybody that does anything that is abnormal or crazy or looked at as a great, someone said what they were doing was crazy or unrealistic. Somebody told them that their goal was not possible. Somebody told them at some point, it's like, bro, relax. That's not realistic. Like somebody told you that at some point and you have to ignore that. I mean, people are going to say that and they're going to get realistic results. I want unrealistic results. So I have to do unrealistic things, right? If I want... if I want to do things that other people can't do, I have to be willing to do things that other people won't do now. Man. So at the end of the day, that's the mentality. And I'm excited because, we're going to look back on this next January, at the end of this year and be like, dang, they set unrealistic expectations. Now look at their results.
That's it, man.
So that's really all we got today for the business updates. But yeah, man.
For a good day.
Huh?
Y'all in for a good day.
Yeah. So what we want to do now is really get into, the meat and potatoes of this episode. Because, we have a special setup today. If you are watching on YouTube, then, you can see that we are in my garage. Got my fridge right here behind me. One got my the dishes behind him, sink behind him, oven right here. We in the kitchen right now. We in the garage apartment. So it's not really like a typical garage. So I have one of my properties I have is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a garage apartment. Now the garage apartment has an addition into it, and I live in the garage apartment. Right, I live in the studio apartment, and I rent out the main house. So I've been, doing this situation for the past few years. And I have a couple houses just like this. Mm-hmm. And so essentially what I'm doing here is I get to live here for free, right? In fact, I get paid to live here because the mortgage on this house, it's about $1,300, but the rent on it is about $1,450 right now. So I make $150 living in my own house. And that is what we want to kind of talk about today.
Yes, sir.
So
I was really reflective when I walked in here because it reminds me of I know I always talk about this. This is truly the journey right here. When I talk about the way what you're going to see as a result of everything that we're doing today, started off with us doing this. This is literally the foundation. Like we're going to pretty much go over some of the things that we were talking about previously because this is where it begins. You don't get to $50,000 a month without doing this. This part is so essential to everything else that we were able to achieve. And that's why I wanted to talk about it because this part right here is what most people are not willing to do. When I came in here, I started looking around and I was like, man, how long have you been living here? Was my first question.
Moved in here December 2018.
December of 2018. That means this is going on. So you've already passed 3 years. You're going on year 4 now that you've been living in this particular place. This place is great, but it is way below what the lifestyle I know that you desire for yourself. As far as knowing Alex, he wants a nice bougie lifestyle, a nice high-rise mansion or high-rise apartment or something, or just penthouse. Being able to penthouse. That's what I never said that term. High-rise penthouse. He wants the luxuries of life for sure. So me knowing that about him and seeing where he's currently living at, that is a big testament to knowing that this is a process in order to get to that penthouse. Like in order to get there, you have to be willing to sacrifice something. So when you look at the car, when you look at the house, all this stuff is just straight sacrifice. Because I went into the bathroom and there was a spot in the wall, like right before you get to the like when you first turn in there, when you're trying to go to the toilet. I was dang near wider than the spot to turn into it. Like my shoulders hit each wall. I was like, yo, let me squeeze in here to go to the bathroom real quick. Then I turn around and I see his closet. I'm like, bro, it's dang near a hoarder house because he's stacking everything on top of each other in order to actually be able to like, so I gotta go back. He's stacking all his shoes on top of each other. And then he says, hey, I ordered some new clothes. I'm like, where you gonna put him at? Oh, no. You ain't got nowhere to fit it. But this is a lifestyle that you just learn to become adaptive to. Man, if we turn the cameras around, we're in the kitchen, but we have the washer and dryer in the kitchen.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is the things that people do not see. I want to bring it to light because this is the stuff that you're not paying attention to that people are doing behind the scenes to get the abnormal results that you are not getting. So all that right there is what I was reflecting on when I first walked in. I said, that is why the results that we get are going to be so different than the results other people are getting because they are not willing to do what we're doing right now.
Oh my gosh. Yo, that goes into top 3 Marlon soliloquies on the Money Monopolizers podcast. I'm telling you, bro. Because we've talked about that before, but like recording this episode here today, it really brings it to light. Mm-hmm. It's like, yo, we have been delaying gratification for years. By the way, we graduated college, 21 years old, engineering jobs, could have instantly upgraded the lifestyle. Could have, and that's what I did, by the way. As soon as I graduated, I went and got best apartment in the city, high rise, paying $1,200 a month, living good, right? And you kind of realize, like, you know, you could do that and you can live comfortably, but it always goes back to comfortability versus profitability in the beginning, right? The more comfortable that I want to be, the more it's going to cost me. Generally, until you get to a point where it doesn't matter, right? But in order to get to that point, you have to sacrifice in the beginning. So the more I chose to sacrifice comfort for profit, right? Because me living here for the last few years have saved me probably close to $30,000 to $50,000, somewhere in that range, just based off of like all the other stuff that would have happened.
That is the key.
And you know where all that money went? Into my businesses, yes, into education, into learning new things. And do you know where that knowledge went? That went to businesses. A business that now generates me $50,000, $60,000 a month. A business that's going to generate me $1 million a month at one point, right? But it comes because of doing stuff like this. I afforded myself the possibility to be able to do that because I chose to, sacrifice first. You as well.
Yep.
You are essentially doing the same thing, and you're in Houston, right? And Marlon has a garage apartment too. It's essentially the same kind of situation where there's a main house and then garage apartment, studio apartment. You live in there, sacrifice for views. It's like, bro, it's not ideal. And we could both go get the new spot. We could both go get a new car and have, a good, comfortable life and live decently. But it's bigger than that. You don't want to live decently. You want to live, like we said before, you want to live unrealistic. So in order to have unrealistic results, again, you got to do things that are unrealistic.
Yep. And now going on to that point, if somebody else that wasn't of our mindset walks in here, they're gonna be like, bro, how much money you be saying you making? Like, why are you living here? They're gonna come. That's the first thing that they're gonna ask because they're uncomfortable. Right. And that go back to your comfortability versus profitability conversation. I'm so profitable because I got uncomfortable first. Mm-hmm. If I'm willing to get uncomfortable, I can raise my profitability up significantly. And now, because I'm doing that, what most people are not doing, my income is now going to be I'm able to, this is decreasing your lifestyle expenses. I want to break it down to what house hacking truly is.
Right.
When I go back to when I was in Indiana, my mortgage was about $850 a month.
Yeah.
I could not find a duplex. I couldn't find a garage apartment. So what did I do instead? I bought a 4-bedroom house and I rented out each and every bedroom besides the one I lived in. So I rented out 3 bedrooms. My total income per month was $1,440. I was able to pay my mortgage and pay the utilities and pocket a couple extra dollars after all that was paid for. That is probably one step away from being the most uncomfortable situations, because anything worse than that, you rent out all the rooms, and like we said before, you just go ahead and get you a little curtain in the living room, and that's your space. Right. I didn't go that far, but that was very important, because now when by me doing that, I was able to still save up my mediocre grad student salary. And that wasn't going toward housing. Now that was going towards me continuing to educate myself as well, continuing to save up. So that way, when I got to Houston, I was able to get another house within a reasonable amount of time. Like within the next year, I was able to get another house in Houston. So that was why all that was so important, because had I not done that, I would have been putting myself behind I would have been putting myself behind, and it would take me longer to get the house hack that I did in Houston, which means it's going to take me longer to leave my 9-to-5 and take longer to build the business. Everything has unintended consequences.
Yes, bro. And I'm glad you brought that up, because you understand there's a reason we do this, right? Because at the end of the day, the goal of everything is financial freedom, right? And remember, there's always levels to financial freedom. If you've been rocking with us, you already know what I'm about to say. Level 1 financial freedom, replace your 9-to-5 income. Right? It's just to be able to cover your living expenses with business or passive income from investments. And so essentially, the reason we do that is because once we're able to cover our living expenses and replace our 9-to-5 income, we can now quit our jobs. We can quit our 9-to-5s. And now, once we quit our 9-to-5s, we can use now our freed up time to focus on our business or on our investment and scale those up even further to get to level 2 financial freedom. Which, as we know, level 2 financial freedom is your dream lifestyle. Your dream lifestyle. I can live in the place I want. I can drive the car I want. I can go on vacation wherever I want, whenever I want. I can buy anything I want. Not anything you want, but I can live, the way I want, right? That's level 2. And then level 3 ultimately comes once you've now been in business for some time, and now you know your business more, and you can essentially, you become one of the top dogs in that industry, and you scale the business to the point where now this takes a couple years, but now I'm at the point where it's like, I can pretty much buy anything money can buy. So we're talking, multi-millionaire net worth, essentially, and multi-millions in cash flow or money per month, income per month. So it's levels to it, but it all starts with foundational things like this, like house hacking, because without house hacking, remember, your expenses become significantly higher. If I have to pay rent, if I have to pay a mortgage, now my living expenses are a lot higher. So now it's going to take me that much longer to be able to replace my income and cover my lifestyle expenses. So it's a reason you do this, because now, remember, if my expenses is $5,000 a month, I need to earn $5,000 passively or from my business to be able to quit my job and focus on my business, right? But if my expenses is literally I've inflated a little bit. It's probably around $800 a month now.
That's inflated.
I've inflated. I like this. I like to splurge a little bit now. So it's probably around $800 a month. But when I started doing, like, when I was super minimalistic, it was like $500, $600 a month.
Yes, sir.
And that was just groceries, car insurance, phone bill. That was it. That was it. Yeah. And I was able to replace my 9-to-5 income last year and leave my job. I could have really left the job like way before because my expenses was so low. Mm-hmm. But why do that when you can use that income to invest into your businesses?
I love painting a picture of like why this is so important, because what he was just saying was of talking about financial freedom is like there's like a number that you require based on your current lifestyle. So in order, financial freedom is being able to replace your being able to cover your living expenses with your, like he said, passive or your business income. So that number does not matter. It could be 10,000, it could be 100,000, or it could be $1. How much does it cost for you to live every single month in and month out? Is it because it costs you $1 to live each month? If it does, then all you need is $1 per month from your business. But if you have a house, if you have an apartment that's $1,200, if you have a car that's $500, and then you go out to eat and that's another $300, now you add all that together, that's $2,000, $1,200, $500, $300. That's $2,000 that you need now. So my goal, our goal in general, the reason that house hacking is so vital is because how can we lower that number? Because if we lower that number, that means that we don't need the same amount of income from our business to say that we're quote unquote financially free. And now we can liberate our time to go build that business. So if we take that $2,000 per month and take away that $1,200, now we only have $800 left that we need to live off of. Same thing with the car. We don't have car notes because we keep driving the same old beat up Dodge Durango and Mazda 3 from 2014. Yeah. Or really, that's an 07. What's your car?
09.
07 and 09 car that has every problem in the world with it. But why? Because now that takes away that $500 car note too. So now all I have to worry about is food. That's my top 3 biggest expenses. Now, of course, everybody's situation is different. Some people may have kids. Some people may have other things. That's why I'm very, very fortunate that we did this when we did, because we did it before we had any of that. So that means that our lifestyle expenses can be extremely low, and now we afford ourselves the opportunity to leave the 9-to-5, to liberate our time to build the business. Bro. Once we can build the business up, now it can start getting ahead of steam, because we know that business is exponential. And right now it takes a lot of time up front that we need to put in order for it to get going. But once it gets going, now it's going to skyrocket. And that's the whole reason that we do this.
Bro, and that's so real, because, my business took off whenever I was able to focus on it.
Exactly.
When I was able to devote all my time to it. Leaving the 9-to-5, do you know how much time you put into your business? But you're not going to get to leave your 9-to-5 if you have all these expenses. You're slaved to your lifestyle. You're a slave to your rent. You're a slave to your car payment. You're a slave to your eating out. You're a slave to your credit card debt. You're a slave to your lifestyle. I would not be a slave to anything. I always say, it's like, look, I have nothing against nice things. I love having nice things, but I will not allow nice things to own me.
That's a fact.
I will own the nice things. Nice things will not have me. I will have the nice things. It's a difference. A lot of people are owned by your nice things because you can't stop working, because those nice things say, yo, I'm gone if you stop working. But to me, it's like most people do it backwards. Focus on getting your assets first. This property is an asset. The business is an asset. Focus on getting the assets that are going to pay you, allow you to leave your job, give you freedom from the slavery lifestyle, and allow you to really scale up your business or your investments to really then get the nice things. Let the business pay for the nice things. Stop trading in time for those nice things. And it's a formula, man. That's why it's the formula to the financial freedom. Always, before we even say it's like the 9-to-5 stuff, it starts here. Facts, man. The delayed gratification, the sacrifice. It starts in the garage. It starts in the houses. It starts in the duplex. It starts in the RV in the driveway. It's levels to it, but it starts here. So
one thing I think we should go ahead and recap now. We definitely, if you ever don't get the importance of it, just to start the episode over and then recap that. But also, I think it's very important to highlight how to actually get into one of these properties, as far as like what's the monetary requirement and things like that. Right. That way to give people actionable steps to get there.
For sure. Essentially, what you need to understand first is your situation, right? So again, like you said, there's levels to it. if you are a single individual, especially if you're a young guy, you need to be on the extreme side of things. If you're especially below the age of 25 and you're single, a dude, it's like, yo, I'm not trying to single out ladies, but like, yo, especially if you're a dude, you need to be on the, like, yo, you need to be uncomfortable. You don't need to be comfortable. You don't need to be, you know, living in a property by yourself, an apartment by yourself. You need to be uncomfortable. So I highly recommend. It's tough right now in this market, especially in most major cities right now, to find duplexes, multifamilies. It's gonna be tough. It's not like it even was. I'm not even gonna, like, literally probably when we got in, we thought it was hot then. It's tougher now, but that's not an excuse. It's just saying, look, you got to adapt. Your alternative is you can cry about it and you can stay in your apartment and keep paying your rent and never escape that lifestyle. The alternative is that you need to figure out what's going to work for you. So whether you have to do what Marlon said, which is find a property that's going to be a single family, but I don't even want to get to that yet. I want to first talk about like actually the like the requirements of it, right? So essentially what you can do is, if you have never bought a property before, you're able to utilize what's called an FHA loan. So an FHA loan is a Federal Housing Administration loan. So it's essentially, I'm not going to get too much into it, but banks and stuff are able to give loans to first-time home buyers because they're going to be backed by the federal government. So if the home buyer defaults, the government will essentially cover it. So it's a very convenient way for you to get in with very little money because it only requires 3.5% down. So 3.5% of $100,000 is $3,500. Probably not going to find a property that cheap. In most cities, let's say $200,000, so you need $7,000 on a down payment. $7,000 down payment, closing costs maybe $10,000. Now, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't have $10,000, can't do that." Well, if that's your mindset, instantly we gotta work on that, because that is you're not gonna get anywhere with that mindset. But what you really gotta understand is that there's a solution for everything, right? So there's a whole lot of programs out there that offer literally grants for closing costs, for down payment assistance. There's NACA that will literally. There's literally banks and stuff giving out properties. Like, if you really look, there's so many programs for first-time home buyers that there's no excuse not to get your first property. It's almost inexcusable, especially if you have a decent job. You don't even need to have a great job. It's a decent job with a consistent income. Banks, most important thing is that, I'm telling you, for most of y'all, it will be easier for y'all to get a loan from a bank than it would be for me.
Oh, that's a big fact. That is, man, say that again.
Most of y'all, if you have a job, if you have a 9-to-5 job that makes decent money, like $40,000 a year, 45 average income, then you will have no issue getting a loan for a property, just because the banks love 9-to-5 income. They do not like self-employed income. That doesn't mean if you're self-employed that you can't do this, but just understand it's going to be a little tougher. You're going to have more hoops to jump through. So, but yeah, that's essentially like the monetary requirement of it. It's pretty straightforward, and there's a bunch of different ways you can use the FHA. There's conventional loans, which are essentially the same thing. There's 3% down conventional, 5%. I know Marlon did a 5% on his first one. FHA is another one, and then also Bank of America, all these other banks, they have grants that will essentially cover your closing costs and also your down payment if you qualify. And there's also low income grants as well that will, if you buy a property, they call it low LTI. If you buy a property that's in a low income tract or low income tract area, something like that, then if you make less than like a certain amount, then they'll essentially give you the down payment and stuff for that property too.
Yes, sir. So, and one thing I thought about with that, because people are always going to have some obstacle that they may run into that they may see as too much of a roadblock to overcome. One thing that I ran into in purchasing my first house is that I was brand new to the world of credit. Yeah, I had 2 months of credit, 2 months from a credit card. And then I go to a bank and say, "Hey, bank, would you mind if you gave me a loan for a house for $130,000, $129 to be exact?" It was like, "Bro, hell no, you only got 2 months of credit." So you can go back and say, "Okay, well, I guess I'll just keep running until then." What did I do then? Talk to my dad and said, "Hey, can we go as a co-signer onto this house together?" That was something that I did initially. So that first house I bought, I actually had co-signed with my dad in that case. You can co-sign with somebody who has better credit than you, that has a lot more credit history. Second thing though was also very important, that before I even did the co-signing, I actually learned that you can get a credit boost for yourself as far as like boosting up your own personal credit, because I was able to become a authorized user on his credit card. That was very, very huge because they probably still wouldn't even allow me to be on a cosigner with him had I not had that. Actually, no, that's exactly what happened. I tried to cosign with him first, and they said, "Yeah, bro, we would give your dad the loan. We just don't want to give it to you. We don't want you to be on the loan with him." And so I was like, "Yo, that's crazy. Like, what do I do now?" So I actually was talking to my loan officer, like, what can we do differently? It's always very important to ask that question. Like, what can be done? I know you're saying this can't be done, but what can be done?
Right.
And so by answering that question, he's like, well, I've seen in the past where people, like, especially like your dad, he has like a credit card that's like 10 years old. If you become an authorized user, this is a great, anybody that's looking to do this, go show this to the person you're trying to do it with. Because let me explain it to them. That way they can be like, okay, that makes sense now. Becoming an authorized user means that you now gain the credit that the other person has on their credit history. So that means that 10-year-old credit card that my dad had, I became an authorized user, which means that my credit now shows 10 years worth of history from that credit card. That made my score boost go up from like in the mid 600s automatically to 720. That quick, off of just, and literally it was instantaneous. Now, a lot of people have a concern with what happened. Like, am I going to have the credit card now too, or do I have to make the spends on it to keep that? No, you do not have to spend actually, they may send you a credit card. My thing is, cut it up. Tell that person that you're looking to become an authorized user with the credit card, I'm not even going to use your credit card. I'm not going to use your account at all. I'm cutting up the card. We're not even going to use that. Only reason, I just need the credit. I don't need to actually do the spending that they are doing. Like, I don't need to utilize your credit card. So there's no risk to the person that's doing it. You're just literally offering them an opportunity to boost their credit up to be able to get into that first property. That was one thing that we did. Just like I said, the reason I told that story, because there's obstacles that you may face, especially as a new, especially a young 22, 23-year-old. That's something that you might run into. That's something how we navigated it. But then also going back to our strategy in the very beginning, when we first set our sights on the house hack, we said, what is our number that we need?
Well, before you talk about that real quick, I want to say the requirement just for FHA is 580 as far as a credit score.
Okay.
So you need 580. Well, it's really 500, but to get the 3.5% down, load money down, you need 580. So most of them are going to be in the range of between 580 to like 620 as far as required credit. So just a heads up for anybody that wants to do it. So yeah, now you can answer that.
I know I did a conventional route. I know I didn't do FHA because conventional still got you like the low 3 to 3.5%.
Yeah.
I did 5% in my case. What was it with that? I did that low down payment. I got the conventional route.
So his credit requirement probably a little.
That's what I can't remember now. It was the credit requirement because they actually would rather lend to somebody who has okay credit, like this 580, 600, but has longer history than somebody that has a 650 or like mid 600s, but it's brand new. Like I said, I only had 2 months of credit. So in my case, when I was going for that conventional route, that's what was required. I think I didn't want to go to FHA route because of that upfront MIP that they had.
Yeah.
Upfront mortgage insurance premium,
right?
Meaning that you have to pay, what was it, 1.75%?
Yeah, it's like a added lump sum in the beginning.
Correct. I think I wanted to avoid that because I think the numbers would have worked better for me when I was first looking at it. So I wanted to avoid that. So I went the conventional route because I can get a low down conventional loan at 5%. I just needed to qualify on the credit side,
right? Which
is why I went that route.
Yeah. So yeah, and so essentially understand as well, if you put anything below 20% down, you're gonna have what's called PMI on your mortgage, which is essentially it's private mortgage insurance. Yeah, private mortgage insurance was essentially. Is it private?
Yes, it's private.
Okay, private. It's essentially like
you know acronyms better than we know that what they mean. But you know what it is. You just don't know the meaning.
It's essentially an insurance premium that the lender covers that charges you in case you default because you are doing a very low money down, so you don't have a lot of equity in the property. So they know at least if you default, we'll have gotten that extra $200 a month from them for those few months that they were paying. So that's not going to go away till you get to 20% equity in the property.
I want to point this out because a lot of people know about the PMI, and they actually will avoid doing this type of loan because they don't want to pay that extra amount per month, which is like 0.8% of whatever the loan is amortized over 12 months.
So dumb.
My thing, it's like it may be $50 extra. I call that PMI. I say that's not what it's called. It's called cost of doing business.
Right.
That is what I look at it as, because that allows me the opportunity to get into a house, get it rented out, and allows me to lower my lifestyle expenses. Imagine, so my mortgage, let's go my situation for a second. I am at $1,654 per month. That's how much my mortgage is. So $1,654 per month. My rent is $1,795. So that means that the entire mortgage is covered and some of the utilities is covered just off the rent alone. So without the PMI, it'd probably be around $1,600. What's the big difference at the end of the day?
$100.
I am literally, so I would rather not get the house altogether because of the fact that I'm gonna pay $50 more for the mortgage. The tenant is paying that. When you see this as an asset and not liability, now you see things a little bit differently. It's cost of doing business. That's what I look at PMI as.
Bro, and that's what it is. The reason people get flustered around is because they're thinking of it from the normal sense. You're not doing normal stuff. We don't do stuff like normal people here.
That's a fact.
We do things differently. We get our liabilities are covered by our other people.
Yes.
Right? We're leveraging other people's money, other people, they're going to work and paying you rent to cover those liabilities. So it doesn't matter. You could charge me whatever. That's why I be saying, like, bro, charge me whatever. As long as it works for me, I don't
numbers
care.
gotta work, bro. I'm so, like, I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what it takes to get there. If the numbers work, let's do it.
If the mortgage is $10,000 a month, but my rent is $11,000, I don't care.
The numbers work.
The numbers will work. Nah, I'm not saying that's smart. I wouldn't do a situation.
As long as the average rent is like $13,000 in that area.
Yeah,
if $11,000 that's normal. That works in that area.
Right. So to say something about PMI, whatever, is dumb. That's like when people say like, "Oh yeah, you like," they be like, "Oh, you made $100,000 this month, but you gonna have to pay taxes on it." I'm like, are you serious? I would much rather have to pay taxes on $100,000 than not make $100,000.
It's a fact, man.
Are you like, that's the dumbest argument logic I've heard to again. Like at this point, just say you don't want to do it, bro. Just say you're lazy.
The true answer.
Just
right
tell
there.
just tell me like it's too hard and you don't want to do it. So it's okay. So, but yeah, that's essentially the monetary credit requirement for it, right? So I think what we should talk about too is, so whenever you are getting into these properties, like we were saying earlier, there's different types of properties you can get. You can get the single family house, essentially that's going to you use one bedroom and you have 5 other roommates, depending on whatever city you live in. It's going to be different. Like what works here, it's not going to work in California or in New York or something like that. Because I could tell you, I mean, Texas is probably one of the most favorable places for this.
It is.
Like in the grand scheme of things, Houston. I know Houston was tough, but like,
I took about a year to find it. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I know it's tough, but like, it's comparing it to like, yo, you want to go to, good luck going to like other places like New York or Los Angeles. It's gonna be a lot tougher. It's not impossible, but it's still what.
I just thought of something else. Where do you want to live at, like long term? Like not really long term, but is this your ideal location you want to stay at as far as your lifestyle?
No, I'll be in Miami soon.
So what does that mean? Let's talk back to the beginning conversation. Not only did you delay like the lifestyles you live day in and day out, as far as like inside the house, even your location may not be ideal.
Yeah.
You may have to sacrifice the location you want to live at early on because you know that there's more opportunity somewhere else, at least in this interim time. If I got to do house hacking, I may not be able to do it in California or in New York.
Might have to move.
I might have to move in order to accomplish my long-term goals. That you just have to, that's the cost of my dreams at that point.
Yep.
What is the cost of what I want to achieve in my current situation? Is that going to be able to afford me that lifestyle? If not, I may have to make some drastic moves. I got to get uncomfortable. What does that look like for you in this situation?
Yeah, man. And that's the reality of it. Like a lot of people, you're going to really have to analyze this situation because people going to hear this and be like, yeah, I can't do that. Because I already know I can go look at the cities where our listeners are at. And I know we got a lot of listeners that are in California. We got a lot of listeners in New York, in the Northeast where things are more expensive. Look, you might have to move. And I'm telling you, this is why if you're a younger person, which I know a lot of our audience is younger, especially if you're, brand new into this world of financial freedom, whatever, you got to sacrifice. Take advantage of your youth right now. Get the hell out of there and move to another city where you can do this. This is a great, Texas has a bunch of great cities where it's a lot more practical. Not saying it's, you can just come here and instantly find something. Things are still tough to find things, but you have a good real estate agent, then you can do it. So back to kind of what I was saying briefly before we kind of wrap it up. I want to, just kind of let people know about just how this actually, like the process of this, right? Then the whole thing about it, because essentially, like I was saying before, so you can do the single family house, you can do the duplex, you can do the garage apartment, you can do, there's a ADU in the backyard, there's so many different things. My other property has literally a whole separate garage and then an apartment on top of it. Yep. You can do the basement if you're in, the Midwest somewhere. So many different things. The biggest thing is just making sure that there's just really, you somewhere you will live and then somewhere else someone else will live. That's the biggest thing. It's not going to be really cut and dry also for a lot of things. Like a lot of people are going to say, oh, let me go to Zillow, look for a duplex. Oh, I don't see nothing, can't find nothing, guess I can't do it. No, you might have to get creative. Even there's some situations where I've seen people where they have literally, added on, there was like like a house that had already a basement or something like that, and they added on a kitchenette or something like that. You just have to make it work. This is temporary. It's not a long time. This is just temporary. Like, I've been living here for a few years, but I'm telling you, I'm on the way to Miami soon, and I'm getting the high-rise apartment very, very soon. And I've delayed gratification to do that. So that is the most important thing to know.
No, like you said, it does look different for everybody though, because I think about in my situation, the house, the place that I'm in the upstairs that I'm in right now for the garage apartment, it was not really its own little apartment before. It was like a extra room, to be honest. It might have been like a game room. Right. There was no kitchen in there. A lot of people would have said, "Well, there's no kitchen." That means that now you have to, not only did you allocate for the house purchase itself, like the down payment and closing costs, now I also had allocated for the repairs and maintenance. Not repairs and maintenance, but also allocated for the construction work to be done. Now I had to fix it up. Now this is like more of a fixer-upper property. And that sometimes you may have to do that in order to get a more affordable deal too. Because some places you may have to fix up a little bit. This place, when you first got it wasn't like this. You had to do, especially in the main house. I remember you were putting in floors in the 90-degree heat.
You remember that AC went out.
Some stuff you have to really, you have to make good deals. You don't always just find good deals. Sometimes you have to make those. Yeah. And so when you become creative and find a ways to make things work, that's when you start reaping those benefits.
Yep, and that's the reality of it. So you find your property, and essentially it's pretty straightforward at that point. You get it listed for rent. And you get some tenants in there and, get your liability covered. The thing is, the house itself is an asset. The mortgage is a liability. We need to have the mortgage covered by someone else. That is the whole point of this. It's the whole crux of this conversation. So, and I think, just being in this place today to talk about this, it's really symbolic. Yeah. And it was also like, I just feel like God really was like, yo, this is what you need to do.
Oh, no.
Right now. So everything happens for that reason. I know there's someone listening that needed this. I needed to hear this. Man. So, that is essentially the whole concept of house hacking. But essentially more so than that, what I really want y'all to understand from that conversation was the whole concept of really delayed gratification.
Understanding the importance of it.
Yeah. And house hacking is just a effect of delayed gratification, it's one of the effects of delayed gratification. It's one of the things you do with delayed gratification. Not buying a car is also, we could have did a whole episode on that. Facts. This is just a very segmented thing.
I'm gonna start taking pictures of my car and posting it on social media as a reminder, hey, don't forget, this is delayed gratification is really the name of the game.
That's all it is, man. But so what I want to do now is kind of transition, now that we talked about that, into our next segment to wrap up the show. We had 2 more segments to wrap up the show. We'll do our Ask the Monopolizers.
How can I be successful? How can I follow the path that someone else has laid for me to be successful?
Ask the Monopolizers.
All right, so we have one question from Bebo Stacks on Instagram. It says, this is a question for Alice in particular. Can you go more in depth on how the cleaning business works?
Yeah, I mean, I'll touch on this briefly. I saw this question. I think we have a whole episode on it. So episode 102 was an entire episode. So, if you really want more detail, check that out. And we talk a lot more in depth into it. But essentially, the whole framework of it is I essentially people think that I run a cleaning business. I believe it's more so a marketing business. My job is to really just match people that need their house cleaned with people that are able to clean houses. Because I don't run employees. I run a very streamlined model of contractors, independent contractors that are able to essentially go out and clean houses and on a per job basis. So they're paid on a per job basis rather than a salary. So I don't necessarily have to worry about buying equipment, those kinds of things. That is how I like to run businesses, because it allows me to run it from anywhere, and it allows me to be a lot less involved. I don't care too much about having to buy equipment, cars, vehicles, all these things. I don't want all that. I want a very streamlined operation. And this is a model you can apply to a bunch of different businesses. This is the same model Uber ran. This is the same model Airbnb runs. Airbnb has houses. People own houses. They match them with people that need places to stay. Airbnb is the middleman. Uber has people have vehicles. They match them with people that need to go somewhere. Uber is the middleman, right? There's always a middleman in every transaction. So my goal is to just essentially be the same middleman. And I want to just continue to do that on a larger and larger scale, and scale to more and more places, to where, my brand is in multiple cities. So that is that. And what we'll do now is wrap up the show with our last segment, which is going to be Take It or Leave It.
We gave you the game. You can
Take it or leave it.
I don't know. This was a really, I think, powerful episode. There was a whole lot of, there's not a whole lot of technicalities in there. I mean, it was a lot of application, things you can do, but it's also a great mindset episode as well. And so what would be your main takeaway from this episode?
Main takeaway from this one, man, is really to understand the process that it takes to get to the abnormal results, and understand that you have to take the first step in order to get to the 10th step. And the first step for us, and the first step for a lot of people, can be lowering your overall monthly income. And so for us, that meant house hacking. That meant sacrificing the car that we drive for something that may be more beat up, but it's durable enough to get us from point A to point B. It's just understanding that sacrifice is the step one in order to achieve financial freedom early, because financial freedom is not a number. Is just whatever number that is required for you to replace to cover your your monthly expenses. So lowering that lifestyle is very critical for that.
Yeah, man, I love that. And so for me, my takeaway, or you could leave it, is understand really, like, this is the like what you see. This is what you don't see behind the scenes. Like, what I choose to show you is the stuff that I choose to show you. I show you the, how much money I made this month, or, all these other things. I show you that. But what you don't see is, me, like you said, struggling to walk through in between the wall over there. If I was
about 2 inches wider, I would not have fit. I'd have did one of these to scoot in there.
Yo, if you a big body, you ain't fitting back there. So, but that's not, you don't see that. You don't see the cars that, we drive. You don't see those kinds of things, because, you don't get the other stuff without this though. That's it's something that is just, it's impossible. A lot of people have this idea of like, yo, I want to get that. But what they're doing behind the scenes is, you're not doing anything that's going to get you there. The stuff that people don't see, the habits, those kinds of things that you have when nobody's watching, that's not on social media, that's the actual stuff. That's 90% of everything. Most of your results are going to come from those daily consistent habits and things, as far as, that you're doing on an everyday basis. And delaying gratification, how frequently you're doing that, how much that is a part of your lifestyle, those things are what actually matters. And if you're not doing that, then you can forget about financial freedom. It's not happening. It'll happen when you're 65, but it ain't happening soon. So, but yes, man, that is it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you learned something of value today. And if you did, we'd appreciate it if you rated us 5 stars and left us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find out more info about us on Twitter at The Monopolizers, or IG at Money Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that'll keep you engaged, so be sure to check that out and share those posts. But until then, we're out of here.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.